coming tonight. June 11th of last year, Nancy Coperidge from CAL FIRE held a town hall meeting here. And this place was packed, standing room only. And I came and I observed and I saw the absolute terror on everybody's face. People were scared to death that these fires were going to turn into a major conflagration that was going to take out all the homes in Yosemite Lakes Park. Well, we're happy to report to you tonight that that didn't happen, and that after over 5 months with a jury trial, the case has come to a conclusion for the most part with the conviction of Kenneth Jackson and Alice Waterman. And I got to tell you that the success of this case, besides my two prosecutors, Sally Moreno and John Thacker here, lies with the Herculean efforts put together by CAL FIRE, Nancy Coperidge's crew. And they did an outstanding job, and I think we should give them a hand. Over the 6-week period of time between May 11th and June 25th, 2013, there was 31 fires that occurred in Yosemite Lakes Park. We charged all 31 fires. We received guilty verdicts on 21 of those fires for Kenneth Jackson, 6 of those fires for Alice Waterman, and then additionally both Kenneth Jackson and Alice Waterman were convicted of conspiracy to commit arson, and Kenneth Jackson was also convicted of battery on a peace officer and interfering with a peace officer. Kenneth Jackson's looking at 32 years in state prison, and Alice Waterman is looking at 12 2/3 years, almost 13 years. I think the significant thing here is that you could sleep easy tonight, knowing that that the arsonists have been caught and have been dealt with. You know, it was a long haul for this trial. It took a huge effort on the part of my prosecutors and CAL FIRE, which basically lived in our office from June until last week. And again, I can't thank them enough for the work that they put together, the gathering of their evidence, and helping us lay out the case and make sure that we had the evidence on Kenneth Jackson and Alice Waterman. During this time, the jury, which also did a tremendous job, they heard the testimony from over 50 witnesses. There was over 4,500 pages of reports put together by CAL FIRE that had to be presented in the form of evidence to the jury in this case, and they did a great job on it. And although we didn't get the defendants convicted on absolutely every fire, the jury had good reasons for convicting them on the counts that they convicted them on, and we applaud their effort. They're sticking it through and doing a good job on the analysis of the case. And I have to tell you that arson is not an easy case to prove. Rarely do we catch the arsonist with the match in their hand. We have to prove the case by showing that the fire didn't cause by any natural cause, and there's no other accidental causes for the fire. So it becomes a process of elimination for us. And that's in fact what they did. They showed that there was no accident involved, there was no natural causes involved. It could only have occurred but for the actions of Kenneth Jackson and Alice Waterman. The sentencing, the next step here is for sentencing, which has been set by the court to occur on June 6, 2014 at 8:30 in Department 2. And at that point in time, unless the defense counsel continues the case, they will be facing the judge and what sentence he gives them for all these fires. And I know that we have a very studious judge who will look at things very closely and very seriously and come to the appropriate punishment for both defendants. And at this point, I'd like to turn over to Nancy Coperidge to see if she'd like to make a few statements.
Thank you. Well, it was just a little less than a year ago I stood here and we are going to get to the bottom of this. And so, while I absolutely cannot thank the CAL FIRE investigative team enough, it was led by our bureau chief here, Chief Bernie Quinn, and Bernie had a crack team of investigators that worked with him. We paired with Matt Gilbert. He's the bureau chief from the Tuolumne Calaveras unit just above, and he pretty much has lived here for almost a year. And their unit chief likes to remind me of that quite frequently, that we've commandeered one of their folks. But to get this done, this is just like Michael Keats mentioned, it's a Herculean event, and we had about 20 investigators from throughout the state of California to come here to make sure that we were doing everything in our power to protect the citizens, not only in the county of Madera, but specifically here in YLP, knowing that that's where we had our specific problems. So I do want to thank Bernie Quinn and his group. They were absolutely instrumental in making sure they put all the puzzle pieces together. So they had to take all of those pieces from the men and women that responded to the fires and wrote the reports and had eyewitness accounts and knew about evidence. They had to paint a picture that Chief Quinn could use. And then from there, he also took eyewitness accounts from all of you, from people that were outside the area. That was very instrumental in getting us the right leads to know where to go to. So we really thank you for your efforts in helping us with our efforts. And then he has to take all those little puzzle pieces and put them together for the big picture to present to the DA's office. And if it weren't for District Attorney Michael Keats, I'm not sure that we would have been able to present the case well enough. He gave us the tools we needed. He trusted in our judgment. He let us be a part of the team. And that team also includes his Deputy District Attorney, Sally Moreno, and John Thackeray. They were phenomenal in trying this case. It really is a difficult process. Arson is incredibly hard to convict on. And to do it in a year, that's almost unheard of, to be quite honest with you. You know, the Esperanza fire just a few years ago killed 5 firefighters, and it still took 2.5 years to come to conviction on that, and there were deaths that were involved. So I feel that we are very lucky here in the unit and in YLP specifically, but I promise you that luck is not what we rest on. It was diligence. We told you we would be steadfast in our resolve, and we were. And I'm incredibly proud of this team, both the CAL FIRE side and the district attorney side, to be able to present to you the ability to say there's at least 2 less arsonists that are going to be out there threatening your homes and your lives, your animals, your stress, all of that. We've got 2 more off the street, and I could not be more proud to be a part of that. So thank you all for your efforts as well. That was instrumental in us coming to resolve, and we really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak with you this evening. Thank you.
Questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and we'll do our best to answer. We may not be able to answer all your questions, but we'll give it a good shot. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any indication that the defendants may try to appeal?
Well, they can always try and appeal. After they are in fact sentenced, they have 30 days with which to file an appeal. Some defendants just do it as a matter of course. You know, considering the length of the trial, you know, who knows? So.
What can you share with us in terms of the evidence?
Well, there was 4,500 pages of reports.
I know, I realize. I didn't go to the trial, so I mean,
Right. You know, the thing is that when they put on the evidence, when a fire investigator goes out, they do all sorts of different things. You know, they're looking for, you know, accelerants, they're looking for ignition devices, they're looking for, you know, the patterns of people traveling and walking around, and all those things. And they're also monitoring other things that can indirectly or directly affect the fire, such as, you know, is there any lightning in the area? You know, is there any equipment operating in the area? Things that could be caused by people that are accidental, and they have to eliminate all those different variables. And frankly, these people had to get to know Yosemite Lakes Park because, you know, they're not necessarily from here, the people that are doing the investigation. And so they have to go out there, and there's just a lot of legwork and time put into it. I hope that kind of helps you.
what was the source of most of the fires, the ones that they were convicted of? Was it a cigarette lighter or cigarettes or matches or?
Go ahead.
I would just say for the fire department, that wouldn't be something that we could actually discuss. I mean, if it does go to appeal, then that would be part of the evidentiary process with that. But also, we also don't want to tell folks how that might be a good way to start.
Okay.
I would love to answer your question.
No, I
I was
understand.
being
I
jeopardized.
understand.
Yes.
Was there a lot of planning? Did they spend a lot of time, do you think, planning these things out? Did it appear that they put a lot of thought into it?
It didn't feel like it to me.
They were very good at what they were doing. So they've had some practice. And that's purely speculation.
Did they have previous doing this elsewhere? Where were they before they got here?
Well, they lived in Yosemite Lakes Park, I think, for a fair amount of time. And, you know, whether or not they've done any other files, that hasn't been established.
Did they ever give a reason for why they did this?
You know, we always look for motive in a crime because evidence of motive is always invisible. And the thing is oftentimes we may not be able to prove the exact motive and why people do things. They did not come out and tell us what it was that stimulated them or motivated them to commit the crime. But we think the most logical motivating factors are they enjoyed the attention that they got from, you know, doing the act and then watching all the fire engines come and everything else, and then the press showing up, and they even talked to the press at different times. And so we think that was the motivating factor, the excitement, the charge they got out of it because of the attention. Yes?
Do they own their homes in this park?
I believe they were in the process of buying it.
Unclear. Sorry.
It seemed to me it was strange that they did it in a place that they had
Well, sometimes people commit crimes in their backyard because they feel that they won't be, the suspicion won't focus on them then.
Thank you.
Who picked up the tab for this, Madera County or the state?
Well, the trial itself, for my prosecutors, the county picked that up. The state probably picked up a huge portion of the CAL FIRE's expense, although the county does pay for CAL FIRE as well. They have contracts with CAL FIRE. And but, you know, something, there's a lot of aid that came from outside the county through agreements with other fire agencies to help them come and put out the fires and everything. And in fact, as she was saying earlier, some of the arson investigators came from way down south to help us out.
That was all borne by the state. We do have a cooperative agreement with Madera County Fire, but anything above and beyond what's a basic fire prevention duty, that is going to fall to us. So we could have shared those costs, but we felt that it was important for the state to accept that because we wanted to be able to put the effort into it that we wanted to put into it, not have to work that through any other sort of approval process. So we bore those costs and we paid for all the investigators that come up with that.
We're actually, your tax dollars.
I want to personally thank you because between the bulldozer and the aircraft that hit behind my house, they saved my place, so thank you.
Are they still in custody?
Yes,
They have been released twice to the sentencing.
no bail. So they're not going to get out. Yes?
A fire that was in the same area 2 years ago, has it been proven that possibly they started that one too?
I'm unaware that we can prove anything of that nature. You know, like I say, arson is a very, very difficult crime to prove. And we prove it frequently through that onerous term, circumstantial evidence. But as it turns out, circumstantial evidence is very probative, very worthwhile evidence, and can be very strong and powerful evidence.
What are we gonna do to prepare for this summer's fire season?
Well, I can tell you that this fire season, you know, I never say it's the worst fire season ever because that's what people always like to say. But the fact is that no one can predict what's going to occur. But I will tell you that CAL FIRE is always prepared for what could happen. And that is our job. That's what we do every single day. And I will say that this year, with the help of the governor's executive order with respect to drought, he has given us an ability to hire extra firefighters. So that's been an excellent advantage for us. They will be on the engines that are around your area on our division chief in Madera here is Don Stein, and Don works with his battalion chiefs, Chris Christopherson, right over here. And he also has Troy Cheat. There's 2 other battalion chiefs that work in the valley, Mike Serber and Matt Watson, and all 4 of them, along with Chief Stein, look every day at how they can improve fire protection in the area.
And how are we staffing our volunteers?
Well, we've gotten 23 new volunteers. I mean, this is one of the things that we've been working on is recruitment and retention in our volunteer ranks. And so we've got 23 new ones, which is excellent, and we're going to continue. They just went through this last training class, and then we'll put out another opportunity to recruit more.
And can you comment on the air resources that we have at Fresno? Are they up and running and going strong and ready for the season?
The air resources in Fresno are owned by the Forest Service. So that one is not up. I can tell you that they have a reload base, the Forest Service has a reload base in Castle, and they are moving that into the Merced area. So we will actually have their reload base here in our unit, which is really good news for us. Last year during the rim fire, I was successful in getting the Castle Airport opened, and we had aircraft going out of Castle, and they really loved it. So sometimes you gotta, you know, if you build it, they will come kind of a thing. So we're very grateful that they're gonna be very close at hand.
One of the last fires was down here on Road 400 at Mountain Ranch, and our property's right there, we have 80 acres. That fire, if it wasn't for the helicopters dipping in the lake, I don't think you guys could have really saved our life.
So we do actually, the air resources are very valuable to us. They work in concert with the ground attack resources of initial attack. You can not have one without the other.
We saw
And,
that.
yeah, and it's absolutely critical that the air resources that are near us stay near us. So the Forest Service has a helicopter and air tankers that are very close at hand in the Fresno area, and we rely on them quite frequently.
Yes, ma'am.
When is Station 10 going to be up and running again? It's been down a while.
Well, everything takes money and everything takes time when you're talking about government. So we recently had bids to have that done. We have allocated money. The board is going to vote on that probably June 6th, is that June 3rd? June 3rd, and then hopefully we'll, within a week after that, we'll have construction starting to get that back up and running. So hopefully by in June, first part of July, we should be moving our fire engines back in there.
We are still responding on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they're still responding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, could you explain the process whereby members from this homeowners association can go down and speak at the sentencing?
Generally speaking, persons that are direct victims of crimes can go down and speak at sentencing. And I don't know how we're gonna have to work on getting anybody in there, because I think that everybody out here were victims in this case. So,
I think that's concrete.
so we're gonna work on doing that. And I think the first place to do is let Sally Moreno or John Thacker in my office know that you want to speak. If you have any statements that you want to write, you can write those to the court via the Madera County Probation Department, and they will send those to the judge and to both all the attorneys involved in the case. And you can send in a statement if you want, if you don't want to attend. And you can send that to the Madera County Probation Department. Or if you don't want to send it there, you can send it to the district attorney's office. We'll make sure everybody gets copies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I suffered close to $1,000 in property damage from the June 12th fire. And I understand that the judge may seek to force them to pay up to $1 million in restitution. So my question is, how do I get in line to file a claim if they actually do recover some of that money?
Well, you can notify the probation department who collects restitution on behalf of the courts. You can also notify the district attorney's office of what your loss was. And then usually, well, in every case, almost every case, the court reserves jurisdiction over the restitution issue, because they may be sentenced to state prison, but you may not be able to finalize the restitution issues for months afterwards or even years afterwards. And the court reserves jurisdiction to bring the defendants back and to litigate the issues as far as restitution goes, because we have to prove that the restitution is the loss that is claimed is directly compensable by the defendant, which is allowed by law. And number two is that there's approximate cause to the fires, to the loss itself. So if there was a loss that was sustained by a fire that we couldn't prove that they committed we may have an issue with that. So. Anybody else? Well, likewise, I want to thank you again for coming here tonight, and I truly hope you can sleep a little bit better these nights, knowing that the arsonists have been caught. And thank you for coming in here and speaking.